plan on flying? It's time to upgrade to a real ID. Because in order to board domestic flights, your driver's license or state-issued ID must be a real ID, or you'll need another acceptable form of identification. So don't wait. Find out how to get your real ID at tsa.gov/real ID. That's tsa.gov/real ID, or visit your local DMV. And then you'll be cleared for takeoff.
Hey, shh. Calm down. The show is about to start. Reese on the radio. Turn it up. Turn it up low. Turn it up loud.
It's like a dream come true.
Turn on your radio. Reese is on the radio.
Yo, let's get it.
Due to the nature of this program, discretion does not exist. It's Reese on the radio, right now on WTIC News Talk 1080.
And a good Friday to each and every one of you. You know every Friday is the same.
The airing of grievances. I got a lot of problems with you people. Now, you're going to hear about it.
That's right. It's the airing of grievance Friday on News Talk 1080 WTIC. So make sure you pick up the phone, 860-522-WTIC, 860-522-9842. Let us know what your grievance is, whether it's a traffic cone to a traffic stop. I'm sure you got something to beef about. I've got plenty today. As well as it being the airing of grievance, it is also...
Yes, it's ladies' night, over night.
That's right. It is ladies' night. That means that Mrs. on the radio will be joining the program as well. She'll be hanging out with us to talk about a couple of things in the news I didn't get to this week, but I would like her perspective on it. Of course, the ladies out there in the Nutmeg State, if you have some, we'll talk about Michelle Obama today. And not in the typical sense, like we've kind of ragged on her about that whole Marlon Wayans thing. I don't want to sort of joke or clown on that. But there's something interesting that's happening with her and this podcast that she's doing in what many people have described as a charmed life. She seems to be complaining about it. So we'll talk about that when Mrs. on the radio gets here. Rozan will be here, and we'll talk to her about that because she also kind of has a relative relationship with what Michelle Obama's doing. And she used to be a fan. Well, maybe she was. I don't know, but she was a big Michelle Obama fan back in the day. She voted for Barack Obama. So we'll get her take on that as well. In the 4 o'clock hour, stay tuned. I told you that I had an interview with another parent at the Solomon Schecter School, at the Solomon Schecter Day School in West Hartford. We're going to play about 4.5 minutes of that interview today, but I'm going to air it on Monday in its entirety. Friday is usually a slow day. People are rarely at work. It's kind of a furlough day. But I want everyone to get a chance to hear this. So I'm going to play a portion of it today. Again, this is a second parent at the Solomon Schecter School that backs up the first parent that we spoke to earlier this week. So we'll play that interview as well. This was edited and the voice was altered to protect the person who called me. So you will hear... a distorted voice for that person's protection. They wish not to be identified. So fine. But they did give some details. We'll play that in the 4 o'clock hour, so stay tuned for that. Stupidest thing I've read today is an interesting story. Can't believe it. And it is very well. This one may be the stupidest thing of the year, unless a journalist does far better. We'll get into that. And also, Abrego, Guadalajara, Garcia's wife, has finally spoken. Yet not in an interview with Michael Strahan over at ABC News. Oh, no, this one is a blast from the past, and we get to actually hear her own voice talk about her relationship with Abrego Garcia. We'll play that as well. And William Tong. Can't forget about him. William Tong and his lawsuit. You won't believe what William Tong is asking for now. If you haven't read it already, we'll talk about that in the coming moments throughout the show. But I want to get into this opening monologue a little bit. And I normally don't do opening monologues on Friday because it's Friday. It's supposed to be festive. But we have so much news. And this is a story that someone is trying in a desperate attempt to associate the Trump administration with racism. And they need it because they were so hurt, so affected by the amount of African American and Latino support for Donald Trump in this last election. They need to get it back. And they're using the old particular tropes. But as I told you, ladies and gentlemen, Democrats don't have a really, really good memory. So here was the headline from the Gateway Pundit today. No, Trump did not just bring back segregation to schools. Let me read a little bit from the story. Once again, the mainstream media is distorting the facts following the Justice Department's recent dismissal of a decades-old desegregation case in Louisiana. Critics rushed to frame the action as a rollback of civil rights, or worse, a return to racial segregation in schools. But the facts do not support this narrative. In 1966, the U.S. Department of Justice filed a lawsuit to desegregate schools in Parrish, Louisiana. In fact, I'm pronouncing this name as best I could, but I'm assuming it is Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana. The resulting federal consent decree mandated the dismantling of the district's racially segregated school systems. By 1975, the court found the district had achieved integration. However, the case remained open for decades due to administrative oversight, including the death of the presiding judge. And no formal court action was ever taken to close the case. By 1975, in April of 2025, as part of a broader review of dormant cases, the DOJ under the Trump administration finally moved to dismiss the order. So in essence, it was getting old cases off the log, dismissing it. Let's get rid of it. There's no reason for this because desegregation is not allowed by federal law. Or segregation, I should say, is not allowed by federal law. So there's no reason to even have this. It's a blanket law. No one can segregate. So I have this case. But someone took advantage of it, ProPublica in particular, tried to start spreading the rumor that this was going back to segregation. According to a joint filing with Louisiana Attorney General Liz Muriel, there had been zero action by the court, the parties, and any third party in nearly 50 years. The DOJ's official press release titled Justice Department Dismisses Half-Century-Old Louisiana Consent Decree stated, no longer would the Plaquemines Parish School Board have to devote precious local resources over an integration issue that ended 2 generations ago. This according to the Assistant Attorney General Harmeet Dillon. For the school district, remaining under the outdated court order meant compiling and submitting annual data to the DOJ on hiring practices, student discipline, and demographics. It imposed a bureaucratic burden on a small district with fewer than 4,000 students in the whole district. So they got rid of it. So in this thing that the Trump administration was doing, it's like, hey, this is dormant, this is stupid, get rid of it. Someone tried to use it as a cudgel, ProPublica. You can read the article, it's there. I read it this morning. The reason why I heard about it was because ProPublica put it up there. But I started listening to this and saying to myself, wait a minute. Is the left trying to make an argument about segregation? I mean, seriously? Because I don't know about you, but I remember that was the stance of the new Democrat Party, or as I like to call them, the old Democrat Party. You see, progressives were very, very much on the side of segregation at schools. Don't believe me? I didn't think you would. So I brought receipts. My good friend, Army Horowitz, many years ago, went to college campuses to talk to white liberal women and interviewed all of them on camera to talk about what? Segregation in schools and what they thought about that on the college campuses. Do you remember black-only graduations? Do you remember black-only dormitories? Yeah, this was not only being promoted by the white liberal left, but also the black liberal left. And everybody was on board. Take a listen.
Would you support segregated housing for black people?
I think a lot of schools have interest housing where black students can and students of color can live together.
Separate from white people?
Yeah, that's a normal thing at most campuses, I think.
And you guys are cool with that?
Yeah.
It comes from the school saying we're now going to offer black students separate housing.
Yeah, I would support it.
I don't see a problem with that.
Okay, yeah. No, I would be supportive of it.
Why not? I want to do with people like me. It wouldn't change anything for me because, as you can see, I'm a white person. But if they would be happy
I couldn't tell.
doing...
Would you support black students having their own separate graduation?
I'm sure that's what they wanted.
So you'd be okay with that?
Yes.
Separate graduation?
Yeah, I definitely would.
Absolutely. Absolutely, they should have it.
What about kind of black safe spaces?
Yeah, I'm for that.
So have your own space where the black people kind of separate from the white people?
They were all for it, right? That was a liberal stance. Try this one on for size. I figured this would probably get, some people would sort of parse this and go, but yeah, Reese, they don't know what they're talking about. How about the very, very segregated and very racist separate but equal law? How about that? Do you probably think that the libs would hear that and go, no, absolutely not. Not after the Dred Scott decision, not after, Brown versus Board of Education. There's no way anybody on the left would be for separate but equal inside college campuses. Yeah, you'd be wrong.
It's going to be separate. It all has to be equal.
Yeah.
It can be separate, but it's got to be equal, obviously.
Of course, as long as it's equal.
If it's going to be separate, it has to be equal, though, obviously, in terms of what the housing is, the graduation.
Right. That would make the most sense.
That's right. It would make the most sense, the leftist said. And what has yours truly been saying to you? The party's never switched. They just found a new way to package it. It's new and improved with 20% more racism. They've always aligned themselves with the Andrew Jackson wing of the party. Now they've fashioned it into compassion now. And unfortunately, African-American leftists have sort of sided on, and I wonder why. Probably because they go to the same radical leftist Ivy League schools as these people. Perhaps they're being taught by the same radical leftists in the public education system that they've been brainwashed. Black kids have been brainwashed to believe that it's okay for them to be segregated away from the whites. And they think it's their own idea. Now, just to put a pin in all of this, because I love every bit of this and exposing the left for who they are. You heard these white liberal college girls talking about separate but equal. Good, as long as it's equal. Segregated dorms, segregated graduations. Well, of course, this is appealing to a certain group of people, right? I know it's appealing to a certain group of people. That's why Emmy did the work for me. He went to go find out who could possibly agree with this segregation of races, especially between black and whites. Oh, well, here you go.
These students are not the only people on board with this type of racial segregation.
Hey, I'm Chris Barker. I'm Imperial Wizard for the Loyal White Knights of the Ku Klux Klan.
Chris and his wife have their own safe space here in North Carolina, where he could be away from all those people who engage in microaggressions. But Chris is really a macroaggression kind of guy. Chris was arrested for stabbing another Klan leader over an argument about who was the most racist.
That's my favorite part of the story. He stabbed a guy in an argument about who's more racist. God bless that man. God bless him. This is like when the left gets together and they get into an argument about who's more liberal than the other. But I digress.
There's this thing going on university campuses where they're trying to separate black people from white people in gyms, in graduations, and housing. How do you feel about that?
I think it's a good thing, and I think it's in people's nature. I mean, it's in everybody's nature to be with their own kind. People are tribal, and we want to be amongst our own selves. And I mean, we're still a segregated nation regardless, and it's always going to be that way.
Are you glad that the left has kind of come around to your point of view?
It would be a good thing if the left continues that way.
If it is separated like this, I hope that they continue.
I'm pretty glad that they're doing it too. If they can stay more segregated, maybe the whites can learn their own culture.
I love every bit of this. I love every bit of this. Listen, I know, and I say this all the time. They will never call, but the left listens to this show. They love this show. They do. They love to hate it. They love to hate it. But when they sit back and watch this, they cringe. They cringe. Now, listen, I'm going to say this to all of the people, conservative, libertarian, people who know true evil when they see it. Doesn't matter what aisle you are, Democrats even, who know that, God, what the hell is happening to my party? I know who you are. I know you're out there. This is the reason why we laugh. See, I see more people. When I first got here, all I heard was outrage about the left. All I heard was outrage about Democrats. What did I do when I got here? I've been the same way ever since I've been here. It's not so much to laugh about them. It's to laugh at them. There used to be a time we laughed at it, right? We laughed at the whole idea. Oh, these people are crazy. Oh, these people are insane. This has got to be nonsense. No. Laugh at them. Laugh at them. This is who they are. They love to shame. Remember unvaccinated people? Remember people who knew that it was a lab leak and not natural? They laughed at us. They mocked us because they thought that was effective. They only do what affects them. Mock them. This is the left. They have always been who they are. They are Klansmen. They are Klansmen and women. They love separating people by race, by telling people that they are less than, that they are beneath them, that only them, their saviors, can help them and redeem them and make them better. This is what they think of those people. Sure, have segregated safe spaces for them, whatever they want. You heard that, Klansman? I think it's time that they finally separate themselves and get to learn about their own culture. I'm sorry. I know it seems cruel to laugh about it, but I got no choice. I love exposing them for who they are. They're screaming about segregation now after years of telling us it was a good thing. The entire Barack Obama experience was about segregating people based upon race and being proud of it. Now Donald Trump comes in and all of a sudden, there's segregation happening. I thought you were down. I thought this was your thing. Lori says they're white culture, whatever that means. European culture. The true culture of the Europeans who came over here and took this land rightfully. I love it. We got to take a break. We'll be back. When we return, Abrego Garcia's wife finally speaks. We have her audio talking about the loving husband that is Abrego Garcia. This should definitely, after you hear this audio, you'll be clamoring to get that guy home. We'll take a break. We'll be back. More news, more views. It's Reese on the radio on NewsTalk 1080 WTIC.
The airing of grievances. I got a lot of problems with you people. Now, you're going to hear about it.
Yeah, if you'd like to air your grievance, get on the phone, give us a call, 860-522-WTIC, 860-522-9842. I did get this. This is an old proposed House joint resolution. It is number 12. This is from January of 2023. But this, all you need to know is exactly what Connecticut is thinking about. And this one's incredible. Resolution for proposing a state constitutional amendment concerning voting rights for certain residents of the state. Article 6 of the Constitution of the state to be amended to allow undocumented immigrants who are residents of the states to be admitted as electors for purposes of voting in municipal and state elections. Statement of purpose: to allow undocumented immigrants who are residents of the state to vote in municipal and state elections. And again, this is from 2023. Thank you to Blind Patriot for sending this to me. I think that question should be asked. Also, I want to give a shout out to our president. I should say head of the research department. We're just calling her LL Lori, for sending me this article based upon the opening monologue. And thank you, Lori, as always. That's why she's head of research here at Reese on the Radio. More universities holding segregated graduation events. This is from 3 years ago. The exact date of the article is April 18th of 2022. So literally just over 3 years ago. And it says universities are increasingly offering graduation events focused on participants' identities and segregated by race, ethnicity, sexual orientation, and even income, according to a report by the conservative education publication Campus Reform. Campus Reform, which is published by the Leadership Institute in Arlington, Virginia, reported last week that there are 36 colleges and universities that are holding graduation events this summer to recognize groups by race, gender, and sexual orientation. Columbia University, Harvard University, Ohio State University, Illinois State University, the University of Texas at Austin are among those offering special ceremonies for black graduates. Yale University, Dartmouth, University of Michigan will hold special ceremonies for Asian and American Indian graduates. Other schools are hosting special graduations to recognize LGBTQ, first-generation immigrants, women, and low-income students. Quote, it stokes division by allowing identity politics to form the basis of how students see themselves as undergraduates, graduates, and alumni, said Peter Wood, the president of the Conservative National Association of Scholars. So, yeah, you were for segregation. What are you beefing for now? This is your gig. This is your wheelhouse. And just as a reminder, I think it's only right. The Klan agrees with you.
These students are not the only people on board with this type of racial segregation.
Hey, I'm Chris Barker. I'm Imperial Wizard for the Loyal White Knights of the Ku Klux Klan.
Chris and his wife have their own safe space here in North Carolina, where he could be away from all those people who engage in microaggressions. But Chris is really a macroaggression kind of guy. Chris was arrested for stabbing another Klan leader over an argument about who was the most racist.
There's this thing going on university campuses where they're trying to separate black people from white people in gyms, in graduations, and housing. How do you feel about that?
I think it's a good thing, and I think it's in people's nature. I mean, it's in everybody's nature to be with their own kind. People are tribal, and we want to be amongst our own selves, and I mean, we're still a segregated nation regardless, and it's always going to be that way.
Are you glad that the left has kind of come around to your point of view?
It would be a good thing if the left continues that way.
If it is separated like this, I hope that they continue.
I'm pretty glad that they're doing it too. If they can stay more segregated, maybe the whites can learn their own culture.
Maybe they can learn the origins of tuna casserole. That's not white culture. I thought that was white culture. Sorry, I can't help myself. This is just too funny to me. I know you hear that and you're angry. Relax. You can take it for exactly what it is. When the left hears that and they see that they're aligned with this guy, that's not what I mean. But isn't it? Isn't it? It's exactly what you mean. So, I mean, they can try all day. I don't care. But that's the way I see them. Look, they don't give that kind of grace to conservatives. Why should I? I play by their rules. Set the standards and then tell me I can't agree with them. John Beckman says, as a white man, I can't stand tuna casserole. What's wrong with you? What is wrong with you? Anyway, as I promised, Jennifer Vasquez, she had been on television. You saw her at press conferences with Senator Chris Van Hollen. She did an interview with Michael Strahan on Good Morning America when he asked her, what about the domestic violence claims against him? She had no answer. I just know that he's alive. I just know that he's alive. She didn't want to answer them. So last night on Jesse Waters Primetime, they finally released the dash cam footage of Abrego Garcia traveling with 9 people. Was it 8 or 9? I don't know. Whatever it was loaded for bear on their way to Maryland. And you could hear Abrego Garcia. He's the only one talking other than the police. Thick accent and all. Seemed like he had been around for a long time. And the police officers knew, yeah, this guy's, he's shipping these folks for money. Police knew what was up. But what they didn't expect this morning was this audio to come out. And thank goodness it has. Because if you didn't see the left run for the hills yesterday or the day before, after the, affidavit, that's what it was. The affidavit from 2020 came out. Yeah, we obtained copies of those right there. They're on my screen. We obtained copies of that altercation between Jennifer Vasquez and Abrego Garcia, where he beat her, told her former mother-in-law I could kill her and nothing would happen to me. After that came out, soon the left was running for the hills. I would be stunned if after this audio makes its rounds, anyone even remembers Abrego Garcia. Hey, Van Hollen, what about Abrego Garcia? Who? ¿Cómo está? ¿Qué pasa? ¿Qué pasa, what?
Came to fill out a protective order. I think it was in December. But I didn't show up to the court because his family, washed my brain telling me that his dad was sick and not to do it. So I didn't do anything. But after that, it was I would call the police. I have a lot of police reports. And I kept trying to get to the door basement to try to open the door, and then he pushed me. So then when I was able to go outside to get a phone, I called 911 from a disconnected phone. Now they took a long time to get to the house. It was probably 20, 30 minutes. So I saw a neighbor walking his dog, and I opened the door, and I was like, help. And then when he heard me, he grabbed me from my hair, and then he slapped me. And then the neighbor, he didn't know what to do. He didn't know what to react. I have pictures of the evidence, all the bruises, because even on Wednesday, he hit me around 3 in the morning. He would just wake up and hit me. And then last Saturday for my daughter's birthday party, before I went to my daughter's birthday party, he slapped me 3 times. And then last week I did call the police. My sister called the police because he hit me in front of my sister.
Oh, get him back here. I mean, what are you waiting for? Are you kidding me? Get him back here. Get him a press conference. Get him Dad of the Year. I mean, what? Are you kidding me? Why are we not celebrating this man? You know? In fact, let me give some advice to the left on their new support of Abrego Garcia. If you're having some problems with supporting him now, that this audio is out, where she's talking about being beaten, waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning to get slapped in and punched in the face just randomly. Just waking up in the morning, douche, douche, douche. Wake up, douche, douche, douche. If the left is looking for a new angle on this, let me help you. Let me help you. And I think you can pull this off. If you get Abrego Garcia back into the United States, just say he's a transgender athlete. Just say he's a transgender athlete. That's all. Yeah, he's in transition. You know, he's a woman. This isn't domestic violence. He's in transition. And the hormones are getting to him. Douche, 3 o'clock in the morning. Wake up. Ah. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I expect you to do. Run for the hills. Yes, look at him scurry. Look at him running. Look at where they going. Hey, left, come back. Come back. Hey, your guy, he said, Abrego Garcia is still in El Salvador. You going to come and get him? What's going on? You're not going to come and get this guy? What happened? Oh, it looks bad on you. You think this might be used against you in the midterm elections? You're damn right. Come and get your boy. Hurry up. Let's see if anybody's got a trip to El Salvador. Anybody's going? Who's on the junket this week? Nobody. And it wasn't like you weren't warned. It wasn't like we didn't warn you. It's like everything in the world so you did. And it wasn't, and I'll tell you this before we go a break. This had nothing to do with Abrego Garcia. This had nothing to do with Jennifer Vasquez. That had nothing to do with her kids. This had to do with Trump. This was about Trump. This was about taking a position in the contrary to Trump. They never cared about these people. How can I make this about him? We're going to use him in my hatred for Trump. And they always, as usual, back the wrong guy. It wasn't like they weren't warned. It wasn't like it wasn't talked about over and over again. I'm going to have to watch Jessica Tarloff on the 5 today. She probably won't even be there to try to explain it. This is the guy you're rooting for? This is the guy you want due process for, right? The guy had due process up the yin-yang. Up the yin-yang. To the point, how many court cases did the guy have to have? How many abusive cases did he have to have? How many pictures do we need? Or videos? Did we need him beating his wife? Douche. What's it going to take? Now you're going to act like it never happened. Abrego Garcia? ¿Qué pasa? What? I don't know what you're talking about. Hey, Abrego Garcia no comprende. God bless you. Ladies and gentlemen, it's over now. We move on. I want to hear another thing about this guy from anybody. Let's take a break. We'll be back. More news, more views when we return. It's Reese on the Radio, NewsTalk 1080 WTIC.
The airing of grievances. I got a lot of problems with you people. Now, you're going to hear about it.
All right, coming up very soon on the Reese on the Radio program, we got the stupidest thing I read today coming up. In the next hour, we'll also talk about William Tong and what he's asking from Ned Lamont. And what was the other thing? Too bad that a lot of people are just joining in. They missed the first hour of the show. Please go back and go to reseontheradio.com so you can go listen to the opening of the show. You missed a great piece. So I'll try. Maybe I'll play a little bit later. We've got also Michelle Obama. We're going to talk about a little bit with my wife when she gets here.
Yes, it's ladies' night, all night.
Yes, Mrs. on the Radio will be here to talk about Michelle Obama and the recent stories about her. Also, in the next hour, we are going to play audio from an interview I did with a second parent of the Solomon Schecter Day School in West Hartford. And it was about 4.5 minutes worth of that interview, a much longer interview that we will then play on Monday. Also on Monday, we've got, and I'm forgetting his name because we're just developing a relationship. But the Hartford Police Union president is going to be here on Monday as well. I think he'll be on at 4 o'clock. We're going to talk to him about a story we did yesterday. And that story is about Justin Elliker's saying that they're not going to be working with the feds when it comes to ICE detainment. And this the statement that Justin makes says that the police in New Haven have their own problems to deal with, so they're not going to assist the federal government in doing their job. So we'll talk to the Hartford Police Union president about Hartford Police, because they were also, as a part of this whole, whether or not they're going to help out the feds as well. And I think, that's roughly about it. Let me see if I can let's take Mike in Plainville for a couple of minutes. How are you, Mike?
Pretty good. Happy Friday. It's warm. I don't know. You're just making Michelle Obama seem too significant.
No, I'm not. Listen, the conversation I'm going to have with my wife has everything to do with. I understand what you're saying about she's a non-issue. She's irrelevant in that scope, but there is something to what Michelle Obama is exposing about herself that I think is something to recognize, and that is, here's a woman who had the world adore her. She was very, very seldom was she ever criticized for her point of view or her way of life. Like in the White House, she was celebrated as the most important.
She's not adored anymore?
I don't think so. I think today there has been a lot of scrutiny, but a lot of it is unforced errors on her part. And I think I'm sort of exploring that. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm just sick and tired of these people with their holy and pious attitudes.
Indeed.
Indeed. They're like the sun is shining down on me when I have an interview, her and her husband. I'm so sick and tired of it.
I can't understand how this woman says that she can't sleep at night. I'm going, you? Like, what are you kidding me? You can't sleep at night? What the hell for the rest of us? I got bills to pay. I still get a good night's sleep.
I got it. This slavery never went away. I mean,
yes,
it never did. A big deal. Abe Lincoln signed the proclamation. Okay, big deal.
He
signed a piece of paper. I mean, look at our tax rates. Look at our tax codes. Look at our utility bills.
She's loved.
Anybody that goes for that is effing stupid.
Mike, she is nothing more than a spoiled brat. That's what she is. And that's why we're going to have a conversation about it, buddy. But thank you. I got to get to the breaks. All right, let's get our first check of the weather and traffic. Jason Caterina got your weather. He has your weather, I should say. And Mark Christopher is here today, I think. Yeah, he's back, right? Right, Mark? He's in the BPS Traffic Center.
The airing of grievances. I got a lot of problems with you people. Now, you're going to hear about it.
We will get to those grievances soon. Stick around for that. That's going to come up in a minute. We'll take your phone calls at 860-522-WTIC. William Tong's in the news. We'll talk about that and his new request from Governor Lamont. We'll make sure we get into that. Also, the stupidest thing I read today, upcoming in this hour. And then later on, the wife will be here. That's right, ladies' night with Mrs. on the radio. What was it? Sunday show is on at, I think, 5 o'clock, maybe 6 o'clock on Sunday as well. I continue to tape them as late as I possibly can on Saturday for Sunday show because, as you know, sometimes Sunday news happens and people go to the show and it's like, hey, he's not talking about what's happening in the news. It is taped, but I tape it as late as I can on Saturday, roughly about 7, 8 o'clock at night, so that I gather as much news over the weekend if anything happens so we don't miss anything. So you're not listening to a show that isn't relevant or current, just to give you a little inside baseball on that. If I could do the show live, I would. If there was a live, I should say, producer at the helm, I would do it, but I just don't. What do you think, Justin? Maybe, Sundays? No, I'm kidding. I'm sure you have plenty of stuff to do. You and I, we're going to have a conversation later on. I promise I'm going to interject or get you to interject on one of these topics because you're at the age of one of my perfect ages in my life, and that is 27. And I miss being 27 because of, one, where I was and what I was doing at the time. And it was I would say, highlight of my life, with the exception of today. But I would say then, as a young man, before I was 30 years old, 27 was that sweet spot for a lot of people. So I want to talk to Justin about that, who's taking over for Roland today. Are you in on Monday as well? By the way, Justin?
Yes, I'll be in on Monday as
Okay,
well.
you are. No, okay, because I didn't get that memo, because I know it said you'll be in today, but you'll be here on Monday. So yeah, we'll try to incorporate you. You guys don't hear from Justin all that much, but he fills in for Roland a lot. So we want to make sure we get him in here. Anyway, now it's time for some more weather and traffic. Let's get to Jason Caterina and Mark Christopher, who's in the BPS Traffic Center. How we doing, sir?
The airing of grievances. Grievances. I got a lot of problems with you people. Now, you're going to hear about it.
Yeah, baby, we are back. It's Reese on the radio, News Talk 1080 WTIC. Let's get to these phones because they have been, thank you guys for being so patient. The beginning of the show in the hour, it's like I would normally, I understand how the show used to go, or this hour used to go, we get immediately into there, but I got to establish sort of a show so that you guys can then call in, especially a day like, airing of grievance. I want everybody to get those in. So I just want to set the tone for the show. So thank you for being patient with me. Let's get to those phones. 860-522-WTIC. White Mike is up first. What's going on, sir?
Oh, man. So I listened to your opening monologue, and God, man, you mean to tell me I'm a liberal?
Okay, so Mike, now this is interesting because Mike shares a lot of the sentiment that, and for good reason, and tell me if I'm wrong here, Mike, is that, look, you've heard, and so have I, you hear so much of this complaining about, they need to have more cities and states or whatever the case is run by African Americans. They need schools that have African American teachers. They need to be taught by their own, live amongst their own. This has been an argument for the socialist black left for years. And you believe, hey, let's give it to them. Let's give them exactly what they want and then see what happens. Am I right here?
Well, yeah. And like, if I were going to college and I was given the opportunity to have, an all-white dormitory, I mean, sure, why not? I mean, think of the money I would save on bicycle locks.
See, this is where you get. You're making controversial. Listen to what I'm saying. Just keep it on policy. My point is, you always got to go left.
Bro, I had my bike stolen by a black dude when I was in the Air Force. So
yeah, I know. No, you're still griping about that. You bring it up as often as you can. But my point is, look, I look at cities like Baltimore, Memphis, Tennessee, right? Detroit, for that matter, with Kwame Kilpatrick, who I railed against for so long. He's finally seen the light of day. But these were guys I was talking about for 20 years. Ray Nagin of New Orleans. I talked about these guys forever and say these guys get exactly what they want, and what happens when they get in power. They turn out to be the most corrupt people in the world. Jesse Jackson Jr. It doesn't matter where you look. You give them exactly what they want. They say they need to be the people in power so they can enrich the lives of the people who look more like them. You give them the power. They vote them in. And sure enough, it turns straight to crap. And that's what I'm saying. It's like you believe that, as I do. Give them what they want, and let's see what happens. And it always turns out the same way.
The entire Caribbean, the entire continent of Africa, any place in the world where black people have any semblance of power turns to crap. It just is. People can be mad about it. They can cry and they can call you the R word, but facts are facts. It just is what it is.
I watched that video. Did you watch that video on X the other day about the black woman who took her business and everything to Ghana?
Yeah. Like she listened to Akon, I guess.
Yes, and she moved everything she owned to Ghana. You got to find it on X, where she talks about how she said, I'd rather come back to the racist United States than to live in Africa.
Yeah, and she ain't going to move to Memphis. So you saw that video that I sent you.
Yes.
Of the lady in Minnesota. Buddy, I am dying laughing at that. I donated money to her just like I think it's funny. Because first of all, that ain't the first time he's been called that. I guarantee his grandmama calls him that all the time.
Yeah,
Secondly,
and I'll tell you, I don't understand what the hoopla is about the story other than the fact that it went viral and the woman didn't care. And I would say the back end of that story, and for those of you who don't know the story that Mike's talking about, there's this white woman with her child, a young child, I think it's a year old. Another kid, a 5-year-old, came by and took her child's toy and ran off with it. And the mother, I don't know, inexplicably started referring to the 5-year-old child by referring to him as the N-word. Somebody videotaped the confrontation with that parent, and the person confronting her is using the N-word as well. Which, again, I'm not understanding that, the basis of that. But here's the interesting part for those of you who haven't heard the backstory. This woman, instead of being doxxed and humiliated, people have contributed to her Give, Send, Go campaign to the tune of over $200,000.
Because she got doxxed.
Right. So there is this quagmire, if you will, that is going back and forth.
She got doxxed by a Somali, shocking in Minnesota, of course, who is also a sex criminal.
Ooh.
So, yeah, good for her. And what she should have done is just called the little boy Piglet.
Why?
Because Piglet is slang for replace the P in Piglet with N, and you get the funniest racial slur of all time.
Shut up. Go. You got to go. It's a stupid thing to do, Mike. You can't endorse it. It's a stupid thing to do. The fact that, and now she didn't get caught on camera doing it. That's insane. Oh, no, yes, she did, because she says it afterwards.
I'm sorry. Little white boys get tossed off the railing at the Mall of America by black people. We can drop a word every now and then. People have to pull their panties up and suck it up.
All right. I hear you. I hear you. I guess he's airing his grievance today. Let's get to another one. Jim is in Wellington. How are we doing, Jim?
Yeah, your last caller's got an interesting take when it comes to some of the subject matter you happen to be talking about right now. You know, nothing's absolute, nothing's 100%. You can't do a broad brush across a group of people and say this is how everybody is, or this is how all the countries are. Having said that, I never could understand how you could take the worst possible name that you could call somebody, in whatever race it happens to be, whether it's the black race or the Italians or the Irish, and use it in such a way, I'm not even sure what the word is, but use that word in such a way that it's almost like it's not a bad word or a hurtful word or a slanderous word.
Let me tell you, yeah. Jim, this is exactly what, again, this is the hard conversation that people keep saying that they want and they don't. I'm not talking about you in particular, but I'm saying in general, right? So Bob and Donald, my usual, people who are always screaming and hollering about, you hear what they're saying? Yes, I hear them loud and clear. And this is the point that the hard conversation that nobody wants to have, especially on the black left and the white left. This is the problem.
Well, I was going to.
Go ahead, I'm
yeah,
sorry.
I was going to go. That's where I was going, because you're right. It is a hard conversation.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And
I'm all for having it.
Exactly.
I'm all for having the conversation. Absolutely, 100%. You got to have it, because if you don't have it, you're going to be stuck exactly where we have been, where everything that's possibly the worst possible thing about anybody just gets stuck in this, like I've mentioned before, this hamster wheel of running, and nothing ever gets solved.
Right.
Nothing ever gets solved.
But again, what also happens, Jim, is the fact that what people are telling you is that you're not allowed to react to an obvious slight in society. And I'll talk about that a little bit, but I get exactly where you're coming from. I'm going to get to another call, but I want to make this point real quick. Thank you, Jim. Here's the point that I'm making, Donald and Bob, who are in the chat room, and of course, obviously, who were so outraged that somebody would have an opinion of this. You're missing the bigger point. It's not so much to condone what White Mike says. It isn't about that. Is that I support his free speech to have an opinion that is contrary to my own. I don't have to be offended by it. I choose not to. Choosing to is on you. But let me go one step further to what White Mike is expressing here, that you miss because you're too arrogant to understand it. You can't run around all day calling everybody racist and bigoted. You can't run around forcing your victimhood down the throats of innocent people daily and telling them that they have to adhere to you in a degree of tyranny unheard of, and don't think you're going to get some backlash. See, I tell people all the time, you can't force me to do something and then get angry because I don't like being forced. You didn't like it. When you are forced to do something, are you appreciative of being forced? When you're made to do something or having to adhere to something, do you do it willingly? You just suck it up and do it? No. But you did it to a group of people who have said they had enough. Now, their reaction to it, that's on them. If they go too far, they go too far. And again, I say, you cross that Rubicon. You go over that Grand Canyon on the tightrope if you do. If you fall off, those are the consequences of it. But when you don't understand, like if you don't even have the reason to say, we may be going a little too far with this. We may be going too far with the entitlement of thinking that we're going to use past oppressions we never felt as a cudgel to now get preferential treatment for things I haven't worked for, and think that people are just going to stand idly by and not push back or resist. If you're not even smart enough to recognize that, that's where you're going to run into it. So I look at a guy like White Mike and I go, look, I don't like it. It may not be my point of view and it may not be the way in which I would handle it, but I understand. Why? Because I'm a reasonable cat. See, I can do both things at the same time. I can sit up here and be morally outraged. Gosh, what he says is wrong. And I could also look at it and go, let me dissect it. You can't do it. Too arrogant, too smart, and too wise for the rest of us. As I said yesterday, if the conversation is this and only this, and there is no nuance, there is no other side of the coin, there is no other point of view to consider, why bother? You've told us that there's only one thing that we can discuss, and that's your side. It's adhere or else. What do you think people are going to do when they respond to that? They're going to tell you no. No. They are going to resist. So that's what you're seeing. You're seeing this moral resistance to say, no, no more. You are not going to use that as a cudgel. I don't even know you. I haven't done anything to you. And you're not going to just meet me first, look at the color of my skin, and then discriminate against me, the thing in which you're fighting against, and now tell me that I have to adhere. No. Now, you can call that, say, I'm taking a side on it. You can call it anything you want. I don't care. This is called a reasonable discussion. If you can't have it, leave. If you don't want to have a reasonable discussion, get out of here. No one's begging you to stay. As I say, bounce. You got to bounce. But everybody's got to come up off their feelings. If you have a problem with of somebody's point of view, see your therapist. But if you're coming here for therapy, I charge $385 an hour. That's my point of view. So it's nonsense. It's over and over nonsense. That's why I never listen to it. I got a minute. Yeah, I got 2 minutes. Let's take Bob in Meriden. How we doing, sir?
Hey, how's it going, Reese?
What's up, buddy?
Just a quick update. I'm not in Meriden anymore. I actually live in Wolcott now.
Oh, okay. Well, congratulations on the move. I hope that it's positive.
It's actually a total friggin' disaster.
Sorry, buddy.
Beyond all means. But I actually got 2 errands of grievances.
Go for it.
And I've been saving these 2. One is people in the media or celebrities calling out conservatives and Republicans as being Nazis.
Yeah.
I am getting so tired of hearing that. I'm really tired of hearing that. Calling somebody a Nazi is like calling somebody the N-word. And I'm not just saying the N-word dropping with the A.
I hear you.
I'm saying the N-word dropping with a hard R.
Yeah.
sucked the land.
It feels like that.
and
It
pulled
feels
through.
it feels like that. But I want you to take it on this end. If somebody has to resort to that, that means they've run out of ammo, and that's an act of desperation. That's all that is. But what's the second grievance?
The second grievance is I voted for Donald Trump 3 times.
Okay.
But the way he's handling the tariffs, I think he's handling it too hard.
You think he's going in too tough on it? He's being too resistant?
He's going in too tough. He's going in too tough, I think, because in my line of business, what I do, I work for an original equipment manufacturer, and we have to rely on equipment that comes from Japan, that comes from Taiwan, that, comes from different countries. This is hard equipment that we need to build our product, and we can't get it. So it's actually really hitting us
before you get cut off,
hard
because I want to ask you a real
time.
quick. I want to ask you a real quick question. If you can come in and out of this one, are you feeling those tariffs right now in the immediate, or is it a growing concern?
No, I'm feeling it in the immediate.
Okay, in the immediate. Okay, all right. So that I understand. When we get back next week, Bob, make sure you give a call when you can next week. I'm going to make sure that I get you in. I want to talk to you a little bit more about the tariffs because that's an important question. Okay, so stick around. Call back next week, and I'll make sure that we give you some adequate time, okay?
All right, thank you.
You got it, sir. All right, let's get to another check of weather and traffic with Jason Caterina and Mark Christophers in the BPS Traffic Center. Thanks, bud.
Stay locked in. Reese on the radio is on WTIC News Talk 1080.
All right, baby, let's get this thing popping right now.
Yes, you do. Stupid as can be. This could very well be the stupidest person on the face of the earth.
What is the stupidest thing that I read today? This one should blow your mind. You all know that Donald Trump has a lawsuit against CBS, right? You all know that. I know you all do. It's been talked about, belly-hooed about for the past couple of weeks. Of course, the Redstone family is trying to sell the network to Skydance or Paramount to Skydance, and it's a big deal. And Redstone's is, poised to make millions, hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars by this deal. Of course, it ended up causing the 60 Minutes producer, what was his name, Bob Allen, I think his name is. Anyway, he ended up leaving and resigning. Scott Paley did a scathing 60 Minutes send-off Sunday for him. It's a whole to-do. It's all anybody can talk about. Well, here is the stupidest thing I read today. Sit down. Take a load off. Headline. 60 Minutes interview that sparked the Trump lawsuit scores an Emmy nomination for, let's get the drum roll. Outstanding edited interview. I kid you not, folks. I kid you not. There it is. 60 Minutes interview that sparked the lawsuit scores Emmy nomination for outstanding edited interview. The 60 Minutes interview that President Donald Trump claims was negatively or deceptively cut to favor his 2024 presidential candidate Kamala Harris and is the subject of a $20 billion CBS lawsuit is now up for an Emmy for the outstanding edited interview category. They actually did that. I mean, right to your face. The amount of bias knows no bounds. They're just saying, yeah, you know what? Donald Trump's got a problem with it. We're going to nominate him for an Emmy. I'm hoping in my heart of hearts that I am not doing another stupidest thing I've read today where it won. But I have a feeling I'm going to. I have a strange feeling that's what's going to happen. Emmy for outstanding editing. Somebody actually. Yeah. That's how bad it's gotten. And this stuff just goes on. It's just bad. We're coming back with more of your phone calls, so stick around for that. Plenty of news, plenty of views. The wife's coming up. Reese Mrs. on the radio will be joining us. Rozan, talk about Michelle Obama and, of course, a host of other things. And we'll be taking phone calls from the ladies. That's right. Let's get another check of the weather and traffic with Jason Katarina and Mark Christopher, who's in the BPS Traffic Center. Hey, Mark.
The airing of grievances. Grievances. I got a lot of problems with you people. Now, you're going to hear about it.
Bob just said in the chat room that I reminded him of Jesse Lee Peterson. Of course, my response is, I don't care who I remind you of. No, I just don't. I don't care. And he says that was a compliment. Actually, he's a friend. He's worse than I am. And Polly mentioned in the chat room that Jesse Lee Peterson says that he believes that African-American males have mommy issues. I tend to agree. And I understand it. Again, as a young man, grew up in Hollis, Queens, I totally get it. I think that I got over my bitterness growing up as a homeless kid who was physically abused by my mom. I think that my entire life changed, with the exception of, like, of course, with politics and how I grew up, 10 years old, relating to a guy like Ronald Reagan. But again, talk about an abusive household, single-parent household, welfare household, living in the hood, all of that stuff. I think the turnaround for me as a man was letting go of that sort of, how do I put it? That sensitive stuff that generally comes with the people that you're around. So if you're raised by your mom, this is the sort of consensus in the theory, if you will, in all of this, that being raised by your mother, growing up as a young man, you take on a lot of her characteristics. This is the belief. Many psychologists and psychiatrists believe in this, that these characteristics transfer over to young men, having lived in that single-parent household. They emulate what they know. That's what children do. And because of that, because it's so prominent within the African-American community, that men take on these sort of attributes. I was way beyond that growing up. Plus, my thirst for knowledge and to understand the people who I looked up to, generally growing up, were people who had, again, veterans of foreign wars. I was lucky enough to have a lot of black male and male sort of thought provokers in my life. And I saw what they were. They were all very well educated, streetwise, book-wise, and very wise beyond their years about how to just carry themselves. And I emulated that immediately. Thank God I was kicked out of my house at 15 years old. That in trying to hustle and survive and knowing these people, actually going to group homes, knowing these men, hearing their stories, Dutch, who I talk about all the time, those things changed my life. And I immediately dismissed the idea. I'm getting this all the time from my ex-wife, Mary, who's been on the show. She goes, you never really, get angry about your relationship with your mom. I was like, no, my mom was human. My mom failed as a parent because she's a human being. I separate the texture, the context of she's a mother, so she's supposed to behave a certain way. She is a human woman who's fallible, who makes mistakes. They don't all work. They don't all follow the cookie cutter. Their own circumstances dictate how they deal with their children. My mom is just not good at it. She tried really hard, but she didn't do well. I don't fault her for that. I recognize her humanity. I recognize how human she is. So I took on none of her traits, and I am not bitter about it. Those things that I experienced, I take them, and I found a way to channel them into something positive, to be better or to do better in my life. But others can't let it go. Can't. And it's a conversation I have with my wife all the time and other people in my life. Sometimes you can't let go of that pain because it's power. It gives you something to use. It's useful to you. When you can't let go of the pain and you can use it as a cudgel, as you can use it as a shield, as a defense mechanism for your own bad behavior, that's why you can't let it go. Because once you let it go, you're vulnerable. Then you have to be accountable for your own actions. It's just the way I see it. I think many psychologists will agree with me on that one. And I got no right to suggest that I'm right on this one, but I just know it in my bones. I just know it in my bones. Let's get back to the phones real quick. 860-522-WTIC. I'm going to go with my good friend Matt is in Bristol. What's going on, buddy?
Hello, Mr. Hopkins. How you doing?
Pretty good, sir. What's up?
Good. I'm going to disagree with you vehemently on this one.
Okay.
So I agree with you 100%. Mike has the right to voice his opinion, and I would never say that he didn't, but I have the right to be offended by it and think he's an idiot for saying it. And
did I give the impression? I'm sorry. Did I give the impression that you didn't have the right to be offended by it? Of course you do.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you did kind of give that.
Oh no. Okay. If I did, then let me qualify. Let me make that abundantly clear. Oh, I'm not saying you don't have a right to be offended by it. Of course you do. I'm not. Again, I shut down no speech. Your offense of it is your free speech to have. I don't believe it, that the free speech is limited to, but you're offended. That speech we don't allow. Of course you can be offended by it.
Okay, yeah, I thought you were saying quite the opposite. I thought you were saying, like, if you're offended by it, you're kind of like a little sissy and get over it. So that's kind of I was guessing.
No, I was saying that, look, here's what I'm saying. If you're paying attention to the offense, and that's the only thing you heard, then you're being selective in listening. Like, because the only thing you're looking for is for what he's saying. It's like, I wouldn't have said it like that. Well, here's my question. Did you take anything else into consideration? Because, okay, I get that you're offended. That's easy. Now take into consideration everything else. Because I think that people being offended gives them an opportunity to discount his message overall. And that's where I say the cudgel comes in. What he said is offensive. And I'm like, well, what about the other stuff? Well, it's hard to take any other stuff when you're offended. I'm like, then you're using it as an excuse. Because you don't want to.
Now I get what you were trying to say. All right, now I understand what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
I agree with you on that.
Thank you. I appreciate
I agree with you. All right.
But my pleasure, as always, to clear that up. My appreciation, buddy. Anyway, let's go to Sean. I got Sean in. He just called him from Connecticut. How are we doing, Sean?
Hey, I'm from Canton. How you doing, Reese?
Pretty good, sir. What's up?
So I wanted to address that lady up in, I think it's Minnesota, the woman at the park. Basically.
Yes, the park. And for those of you who don't understand, this is a woman who was caught on viral video in an argument using the N-word about a 5-year-old child who took toys from her 1-year-old. Go ahead.
Yeah, that. Okay, so I don't know how online you are, but there's this term going around, and it's pretty accurate for what this woman was feeling, obviously. It's called black fatigue. And it's just white people in general are sick of being labeled as the bad guys. We always are. We're not going to stand for it anymore. And, yeah, you probably shouldn't use that language, but she's standing up for herself. She's sick of this, and that's basically where it came from.
And I'm glad that you know what, you articulated it better than I did, and that is I didn't know the term, but thank you for that, because that's, in essence, what I was talking about in the last segment, was that people aren't understanding that you had 14 years of being told that because of your immutable characteristics, you were to be shamed, attacked, everything about it. Like, I tried to explain this to a woman when I was owning my moving company. I was trying to explain to this woman who voted for Joe Biden, who was voting for Joe Biden at the time, and about Donald Trump. And she was trying to understand why I was supporting Donald Trump or why he was gaining so much momentum. And I explained to her that under Barack Obama, you couldn't even have a position against him without being called racist. You couldn't have an honest conversation. Yes. It was like,
it was a cudgel they would use to silence.
Exactly. It's like people, I was like, no, I want to have a conversation about policy. You only have a problem with it because it's a black man doing it. And I'm like, no, I'm trying to, and we were told to shut up. And you're right. That's the perfect, the capture of the whole thing. It is black fatigue. It's like, how long do you expect people to have to be told over and over again that their points of view mean nothing because of their immutable characteristics, and at the same time say you're speaking for, you wish for equality?
Yes, that's exactly it. Like, I'm sorry to jump in, but I'm a millennial. For the last 20 years of my life, all I've heard from Hollywood, the media, and politicians is how bad white people are, how bad white men specifically are. Mm-hmm. And honestly, the next, as a millennial and the people below me, our generations are getting sick of it. We're not bad people because of the color of our skin. We're not.
Yeah. And it's, again, that's Look, I look at it. I say this, Sean, and tell me if you sort of find this as the crux of all of this. The one thing that I find unique in us as Americans, and I don't care what skin color you are, I believe as Americans, if you've been here for at least 20 to 30 years, I think that this is unique in us as Americans, true Americans, is that we have this adverse reaction to tyranny in all shapes and sizes. Is that fair?
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like there's a natural adverse reaction to being told that you are not allowed to have an opinion, to talk about things, to have a disagreement with things, or to even express yourself.
Quiet, let them
speak.
speak.
Exactly. And that's what I think is
perfect,
innate.
Reese. Thank you.
And I think it's innate in all of us. And that's the part that needs to be understood, is that what you are asking people to do is go against their nature.
Yes. Thank you, Reese. That's all I wanted to contribute today. I heard the conversation, and I just needed to get black fatigue out there because online, that is the term that is being bandied about.
Well, I thank you for sharing it with me because that's because you're a millennial. I may be out of scope, but you know what? You're educating us with that term, so I appreciate it.
All right, thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you, man. You have a great weekend. Yeah, that's a great term. It's a great term. Poor baby, the color of Sean's skin is really oppressing him, please. And there you go. Bob, you don't even get it. Do you see the point? Imagine that had been his view on you screaming and hollering about oppression and what happened before you were born. Slavery that you never experienced. Right? Segregation you never had to go through. Imagine somebody had said that to you. Poor baby. Poor baby, you didn't get a job. Poor baby, you live in a city that discriminates against you. Oh, boo-hoo. And there it is. That's exactly the point that I'm making. And I've said this over and over again. I used to have this argument with my ex-girlfriend. And I said, because you don't think I have feelings means you can trample all over them. And she goes, no, I don't think that. I don't think that at all. And we're going over and over and again. I said, well, listen, to be honest with you, sometimes I feel. And she got frustrated. She goes, nobody cares how you feel. And I went, exactly. And that's the truth, Bob. That's exactly the truth. You don't care how they feel because it's about how you feel, nothing else. Your victimhood supersedes everybody. You don't want equality. You don't. And I know it. This is why it's evil. I know there's an ulterior motive. Again, having this conversation over and over again with people, and they always expose themselves. You know what I say to Chris Murphy, right? I'll say it to you.
You talk too much. You never shut up. I said you talk too much. Oh boy, you never shut up.
You talk too much and you only reveal what's really in your heart. And we get to see it. Full display. You can't help yourself. Here's my suggestion to all of you. Just be honest. Stop trying to gaslight us and throw the wool over our eyes. Stop it. Just be honest. We can accept honest, but there's a reason why you can't be. There's a reason why you can't be, because everything about you is dishonest. You rather bully us, and you rather you want tyranny. That's all. You want tyranny. Imagine if the tables were turned. Imagine you got all the power you sought. What would you do with it? Exactly what you're doing now. Just intellectually, what you're doing now. You would create laws. I know if you got the chance, black people would be in front of the bus while whites were in the back. Whites would be dining in the back of the restaurant. Oh yeah, given the chance, that's all it is. It's revenge. I get it. It's Jim Crow under new management. I know the deal. That's why they're mad at me. Because I don't care and I'm not insulted. I'm not insulted by your consternation. Oh, he's just not one of us. Never was. God bless you, though. God bless you. Bless your heart, as they say in the South. Bless your heart. When we come back, the wife's going to join us for Ladies' Night. So, ladies, if you can, get on the phone. We're going to talk a little bit about Michelle Obama and understanding exactly what's going on with her. What would you do if you were in a situation with your spouse, your husband, with President of the United States, governor? Could you deal with being in the background? Could you deal? I think that's what Michelle Obama's dealing with. Let's get another check of the weather and traffic with Jason Caterina and Mark Christopher is in the BPS Traffic Center. Hey, Mark.
Hour that packs a punch. It's Reese on the radio on WTIC News Talk 1080.
I got so caught up in this conversation that was going on. White Mike, of course, taking things off the rails on this Friday, that I totally forgot that I still have to play the audio from the second parent at the Solomon Schecter School. I promised that in the last hour, and I forgot, getting caught up in all of the telephone calls I got in. But we'll get to your calls, and we'll get to that as well. So stay tuned for that in the next coming minutes. Of course, the wife will be here, Rozan on the radio, as I like to say, will be here to discuss that and, of course, the Michelle Obama thing. And, ladies, we want to hear from you. If you want to say hello to Mrs. on the radio as well, and if you agree with her assessment on both topics, we want to hear from you. 860-522-WTIC, 860-522-9842. She's got her hair braided today, which I'm actually kind of digging this look. You should do this one often. Is it two braids or just one? Okay, sorry. I'm sorry. Say again?
It's two braids that meet
That meet?
make one.
Okay, but it looks kind of cute.
Thank you.
I like it. We're kind of, we're testy right now. We'll talk about that, too. We got so much news and so much. Look, it's not always paradise, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry. We had one little skirmish, and it's always over the same thing, and we might discuss it because I'll admit, and I have to. I'm going to just say it live. I'm a little testy about certain things, and I have a tone, and which my wife will attest to. I have a tone, and is it fair to say the word? I don't want to, because
asinine, belligerent, rude, mean, grumpy. Any of those? Sure. Yes.
Okay,
maybe.
fine.
It
I
could
was going to
be.
say how it affects you.
Oh, not positive.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
All right. Well, maybe we'll talk about that a little bit. Because I said I never want to give the impression. Before we go to break, I never want to get the impression. This has always been my problem. I've seen more people online show their life to be everything's peachy keen. It's like run like a PR campaign where all the positive stuff. We have an open and honest marriage. And when I say open and honest, it's like, it's not all cookies and creams and, unicorns and rainbows.
It usually is, but sometimes,
It gets testy.
I can be a spoiled brat and you can be a grumpy old man. So, yeah.
Yeah, and it doesn't always mesh. Sometimes you can look at it and, you can take it in, and then sometimes it's over the top. Like, she'll get mad at me if I criticize. She'll be listening to a song, and I'll hate the song, and that particular hatred of the song will trigger her to want to fight. And it'll be like, I was like, wait a minute, any other time I'd rag on the music choice, it's nothing. You'll laugh about it, but now you're upset. I really like this song. Anyway, we'll get into that. We'll talk about all that stuff, much, much more. It's time to get back into the weather and traffic with Jason Caterina and Mark Christopher is in the BPS Traffic Center. Mark, you don't argue with your wife about her music choices, right? Even though you're a DJ?
No. No, not at all.
She doesn't have a genre of music where you say it was like, God, that's awful. Never?
She was really into Josh Groban for a while, which is it's funny. Josh Groban's got a great voice.
Of course.
And Josh Groban's really into heavy metal. It's totally opposite of what he does.
I do know that.
But I never ragged on her. I was like, okay, you like this. That's fine. That's fine.
Even as a DJ, you don't find it to be like, ugh. Like, you're like, really? You like this?
Maybe he's not a music snob.
I'm a music snob.
I'm not. See, I'm really not. Although, well, my favorite band of all time is Steely Dan.
Yeah.
And a lot of Steely Dan fans are music snobs. So,
that
I'm
makes
not
sense
one of
because I love Steely Dan. That's probably what it is. Oh,
Well,
good point.
Musicians love Steely Dan. I mean, musicians love, because they're very unique. There's, not a lot of bands that sound like Steely Dan.
I wouldn't
But,
call myself a musician. I mean, I can tap my feet to the rhythm.
Well, you've been in the music industry.
Yeah, that's true.
So you know a lot about it. But yeah, generally I don't get too crazy with what she listens to. So
Well, you're a good guy.
Well, I just because music is universal language, and generally music makes people happy. So I don't want to make somebody's life unhappy if there's something that they like.
It's Reese on the radio. Ask your doctor if common sense is right for you. On News Talk 1080 WTIC.
All right, we are back. It is Reese on the radio with his better half, as I like to call her, Mrs. on the radio. Rozan is here. How are you, my dear?
Good. How are you?
I'm great. You may have to throw your voice up there. I know that you're very, very quiet in all of this. Okay.
I've never been accused of that. But Thank you.
All right. So I promised before, again, another parent has come forward in the Solomon Schecter school issue. I refuse to call it a scandal, but it's an issue. And that parent came to me and said that they wanted to discuss what their experience was in all of this. So I am going to, let me go back here because that's where it is. I'm going to play it for you so you can listen to it, and then I will get some analysis from Rozan in this as a mother to get, pretty much where she is on this. And I think she's heard some of this story as it goes. I'm still trying to find out where I put the darn audio, which I thought that I put up here already. Here it is. Okay. All right. So this is, again, another parent that has a child that was in the classroom of the teacher in question. Here was her experience. Again, her voice has been altered, so listen closely. And I just pretty much let her tell her story.
So I picked my kids up early on December 4th. I picked them up early. I didn't tell the school why. I picked them up 2 hours early. When we got in the car, I recorded on my phone. I had an interview with my kids, like just a very casual, interview to find out if he had tickled or touched any of them. And my one child who was in his class said that, yes, he tickles them all the time, and they think it's so funny. To her, it didn't feel wrong, which actually really concerns me. I didn't like that. An adult man shouldn't be touching your body. But I tried to keep the conversation very light because I didn't want to, freak my kids out. So, okay. So then, but I felt like I got all the information I needed from my children. At that point, she said, yes, he tickles us. He tickles all of us. She said that it hadn't happened in a while. So I'm wondering if, maybe at that point, he kind of what I did do then was, I decided at that point, I would send them back the next day. So I sent them back to school the next day. And I emailed one of the administrators, not the head of school, but the head of curriculum development, whatever it is. And I emailed her. I said, I'd like to discuss something pretty urgent with you. It's really important, whatever. She was out that day. She got up out of office, but she emailed me back and she said, let's talk tomorrow morning. I said, great. So we had a meeting the next morning and at that point, I said to her, and this is important, I said, I talked to, so they knew, when I talked to them, they knew that I had spoken to her. And I think that's important because there's another person who reported it who very specifically didn't let them know that she had talked to. And that's the one person who, then they finally took it seriously. So I think that's important to note. But I told them, I said, I talked to her. And I came in, I was very careful how I presented it because I didn't want to be accusatory. But I came in trying to be a partner with them. Because, that's how you kind of make headway with people in general, right?
Mm-hmm.
So here I am, and I'm saying, look, I know, she told me what happened. I don't want to be alarmist, but I do know that, I asked my kids, and he was tickling my daughter, and I don't want him touching my daughter. And I even at that point had spoken to another parent who I'm friendly with in the class, who her daughter had also been tickled, had also spoken to the school the day before me on the 5th of December, and said, and her daughter had also been tickled, and she also said, I'm not comfortable with that. But she decided that she was okay with her kids continuing at the school at that time as well. But we had talked, and, when I talked to her, I said, like, I would love to maybe, like, go in with kind of, like, maybe solutions. Like, okay, let's, like, make a barometer. Like, what is it, like, what is the level of which it's okay? Like, if a kid is crying and they want a hug, can the teacher give them a hug? And I remember so clearly coming up with this while I was on the phone with my friend, and then the next day saying it to the administrator, saying, I think the barometer needs to be that if it wouldn't be appropriate with, like, a teenage female student, right, who's, like, gone through puberty,
right.
Like, if that wouldn't be appropriate, then you can't do it with a 6-year-old or 7-year-old either. Like, that's just the line. That's the line that you can't cross, right? So, if you can pat a student on the shoulder, yeah, because that wouldn't be weird, like, but tickling, absolutely not. Imagine, right, a teacher, an adult male teacher tickling a 15-year-old girl, like, that's gross. And so I tried to say that to them and give that to them as a barometer, and I even went in saying, like, I know, because, I was like, I know that there can be, like, some conflict with certain people, because I was worried that they weren't going to take it seriously because I was the one who reported it, and who knows, whatever. And they were like, well, we would not, of course, we're going to take it seriously. I was like, okay. And they were like, please let us know if you have further concerns. And I was like, well, you'll know because my kids won't be here. And they were like, well, I hope it doesn't get to that, right? So I think I was very clear that I was not okay with him touching my kids.
All right, so, Rozan, you got an opportunity to hear most of that for the first time, taking it all in. What do you got?
If my child, male or female, came home and said to me, Mom, my teacher tickles me and my classmates, I'd have a problem.
What do you think of parent number 2's view on the response? Because from what it appears in both stories between both mothers, that, one mother took the approach of just asking casually her child, this particular parent asked casually her child, hey, is this going on? After hearing word of it, hey, is this going on? Mm-hmm. Kid expressed themselves, oh, yeah, all the time. And I don't know whether or not I was conflicted. Just as a parent, she expresses that as well. She sort of says it was concerning to her that her child was not looking at it in any particular bad way. But then again, what are you to expect from a child?
Right. So it's kind of like, if you treat everybody the same, when you're just a little bit nefarious with another one, it's a little harder to pinpoint. But he tickles all of us, so it can't really be that bad.
Right.
So that's a problem, right? Mm-hmm. Like there's this creation of a safe-looking situation when it's being manipulated and abused with certain students, right? Mm-hmm. That's inappropriate. Keep your hands off of my children. I don't care who you are. If you have a problem with something that my child is doing, call me. I remember leaving my duty station in Arlington, Virginia, and driving to Alexandria, Virginia, in uniform, in the middle of the day, to go and deal with my son in his classroom. That's my job. That's my job, is to deal with my child. But I also, I had to have a relationship with the teacher, right? It's between me and the teacher in order to be able to discuss what's appropriate and inappropriate for the handling of this child. Right. How you deal with other children, that's not this child here, this is how we will deal with this child. And I'm not a soft, oh, not my baby kind of mom.
Let me ask you this also as a mom. It seemed like, and I think in both cases, in both interviews that I did, both moms appear to be giving the benefit of the doubt.
I'm violently angry.
I know.
Right
No.
now.
Hold on.
I'm violently rageful right now.
Let me hear me out from a different approach here, because I think that this lends itself to a little more credence of the mothers. Hear me out as to why. Right? In the world that we live in, the jumping to conclusions to the bad place is prevalent. Right? My kid was touched. Hell to pay. These parents, because of their relationship with the school, was kind of giving, hey, maybe I'm jumping the gun. I don't want to be that parent that jumps the gun.
You don't give the benefit of the doubt when it comes to your children.
Okay, and I get that. But no, I understand that you're saying, of course, I like I said, this is the conflict that I have. This isn't, and by the way, the parents who I'm talking about. I don't want you to get the impression that you're being criticized.
No,
here.
not at all.
Yeah, it's not that. I get that your relationship with this school, I think, took a lot of precedent because, again, this is not some normal place in the world. This is a what do you call it? A yeshiva or sort of a religious school, a private school that you have a relationship. It's a very close.
It's a community.
Right. It is a community. Right. It is not this separation where you're the parent and this is your school.
I understand that, but for me personally, just with my own history, right? Because I am a survivor of multiple forms of abuse. The community gives this false sense of safety and security, right? And so it affords us the ability to say, well, let me be a little lenient. Because I've survived it, the minute I smell, see, feel, I get a little tingle and my haunches are up. And that's just me because I'm still dealing with the lifelong consequences of the things that I've survived.
Right. Now to go on to this point, exactly why I brought it up, about, these parents they didn't go for the gusto and immediately, they seem to be very tempered in their approach. It was like, okay, maybe I'm seeing this wrong. I don't think this is appropriate, but I don't think this was nefarious, right? They're trying to give the benefit of the doubt, again, which most people don't.
I don't know how it can't. It's not necessarily inappropriate, but it's not. I mean, there's really very little. It's inappropriate, but it's not nefarious.
Right. Well, I'm saying that I'm looking at the scope of where it is. In other words, they're trying to get answers. They didn't discount it. They were trying to get answers.
I think what they were trying to do, because I've read the emails and all of this, I think it seems more like they were trying to work with it from an in-house perspective.
Yes.
To try to have it dealt with on as low a level as possible, which I can completely respect. I can completely understand that.
But that's the part that I don't understand, is that you have two parents who are not coming at you with guns blazed, right?
Right.
They're not coming at. And I feel like the school didn't take that into consideration from what I'm reading.
Right, because the one email, I'll just say the guy, says, well, we need to talk to our attorneys before we proceed. And then our attorneys suggested we do an investigation before we report. He's doing the legal thing, right? He's following legal protocol, which leads me to believe that his first concern is not the children. His first concern is reputation, money, and
And
status.
the parent has every right to feel that way in that exchange.
Listen, me personally, I wouldn't have even bothered calling the school. I would have been at the police station. That's me.
And trust me, like I said, and I get it, it's from all aspects. That's exactly like I said. So here you have, and again, this is no slight on the parents in this case, is that they felt that because they hadn't dealt with it before. This is their first.
I respect the calm. Like there's a level of calm and what's the word I'm looking for? You guys do it, but we don't. Logic. There's the word. I don't mean all women. Please don't take that the wrong way. I'm saying me specifically. I don't logic all the time. These women had the ability to remain logical and present and self-aware and thinking about things in a broader scope.
Right.
I am a lava bullet.
Right.
Like
You would,
I am
right. You would have been
hot.
a pit bull on this.
Yes.
one.
And so I admire the fact that they were able to do it this way. They felt comfortable and strong enough to do it this way.
Right.
You know what I mean? And what that lends to me is that this school and that guy, not the teacher, the guy, have lost all credibility as far as I'm concerned. I would look at that person as forever being almost in the same shoes as the perpetrator themselves, because you prefer to protect a name, an organization, and a bank account, and to hell with my child.
And I thought you would get it from that. I totally, I think that it's fair to get that. Again, from everything that we've read, so far. I think it's a fair assessment. I don't think anybody's being heavy-handed or wrong about that. We'll talk a little bit more about this, and we'll get into Michelle Obama as well, but we got to get another check of our weather and traffic, and then we'll get, of course, to your phone calls. We'll try our best to fit them in as we have this discussion. So stick around for that. Let's get another check of the weather and traffic. Jason Catarina has your weather, and Mark Christopher is in a BPS Traffic Center. Hey, Mark.
Hey, Reese.
That's got to be me. I've got something freaking out over here. My apologies. I'm not. There it is. Whatever that is, that's my fault. Am I coming over? I've got some weird thing going on. There's a shortage of something that's going on that's blinking. And it might be. It's the camera? Oh, that's what it is. Oh, I see. So I've got a problem with my camera. That's okay. That makes sense now. I don't even know what the heck that's weirdness going on. Okay, I have to fix that. Anyway, I don't want to get distracted. Let me give a quick shout out to two ladies who just sent me a message, Cheryl and Gloria. I want to say hello and thank you for checking out the show and being faithful viewers, listeners of the Reese on the Radio program. Yes, we got it fixed now. We're back up in Adam. I don't know what the heck that shortage was, but I apologize. So Gloria and Cheryl, thank you so much for checking out the show. I wanted to give them a shout out. Also, like I said, the wife is here. Mrs. on the radio, Rozan is here. So are we cool now? Like, are we okay? Sorry.
We haven't stopped being cool.
We haven't stopped being cool?
Yeah.
Okay. Here's what it is. If I could do it within a minute, here's what happened. I was on my phone, and I was in the middle of a text, and like my wife does, she puts her cup in front of me, and she wants more coffee. And it is my job to get her coffee, but I was in the middle of something, and she just puts the cup in front of my face, and, it's like, more coffee. And my response to that was, you don't see me doing something here? And I snapped at her, and she was offended, and she jumped up, and she went and got her own coffee, and
it's a very gentle way to put it. Sure. That's how it went
was
down.
was I dishonest in some way?
No, I mean, that is, almost exactly, you were texting. I did put my cup, over toward you, not in your face, but in your peripheral, and you freaked out.
Yeah, because I kind of felt like what I was doing.
Your ished all over me.
Because I kind of felt like you didn't see me doing something or didn't care.
But you were projecting onto me.
Maybe I was.
And you're the one who told me, just when you're ready, let me have your cup. Doesn't matter what we're doing, what we're watching. Just let me know you're ready. So I did that. And this particular morning, yesterday morning, you just lost your mind all over me and made me feel about this big.
All right, I apologize.
It's okay.
I feel awful enough.
You're a grumpy old man, and
I wore your grumpy shirt just for that. I wore your grumpy cat shirt just because of that. Let's get another check of the weather and traffic. We'll talk about Michelle Obama on the opposite side of this. Jason Caterina's got weather, and Mark Christopher, he's in the BPS Traffic Center. You see that, Mark? I kind of feel like I'm an open book. I could bring my wife on and say that I made a complete fool of myself. I know you probably do. You get like a lot of other people saying, "I can't believe he'll talk about this stuff on the air." Does it ever surprise you? I get that all the time from my friends. They go, "Really? You would talk about that on the air?" I'm like, "Why not?"
Yeah. You got to.
Yeah.
This is your job. This is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to talk about stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Makes you human.
I'm lucky because most traffic reporters just do traffic. But I
Yeah.
get to have a little fun. I get to throw a little personality in, and
that's why
that
I
makes my
do
job
it.
A little more interesting.
That's why I said we got to get a direct line with Jason Caterina because he is funny. I want him in this scope because he always he opines about something. He'll jump in about something, and he's got that one quirk. We end up laughing about it all the time. He is absolutely classic. That's why I love both of you guys.
Well, I don't know how many stations he's got to cover, so that'd be
that's probably
consideration
why
with him, but. Yeah, if I've got time, I like to have a little fun,
Yeah.
Why not? That's why we're in this business, man. We're not in here because we're digging ditches. We're in here because we love what we do, right?
That's right.
If you're heading into Hartford right now, southbound 91 delays 34.
WTIC weather.
You guys are making me blush over here behind the mic. I do have time to chat with you. You guys are my last live feed in my live block. So if you want to arrange that, that's fine. Taking a look at the radar right now. Pretty good.
What's up, everybody? You know who it is.
You know who it is.
You know who it is. It's Reese on the radio. Frederick Douglass of the 21st century.
It's WTIC News Talk 1080.
And we're back. It's Reese on the radio, hanging out with Mrs. on the radio, Rozan. And we'll talk a little bit about Michelle Obama in a second. I was thinking about that last break, talking about the coffee. I started singing to myself, the best part of waking up.
Screaming at your wife. Sorry.
I was going to say, getting your wife's damn coffee. It's the best part of waking up. Anyway, let's get to the phones. We've got plenty of people who are on hold. Let's go to Bill in Wethersfield. How we doing, Bill?
I'm doing good, thanks. Oh, there's so many things to talk about other than what was bothering me when you started the segment at 3 o'clock. And
That's okay. We rehash old topics. It doesn't matter. What's going on?
no, I'm going to say, Rozan, thanks for discussing this topic with him, and I'm sorry to hear about your youth. And I had a similar youth, and it's something we survived. And I was going to say, Reese, you trained Rozan to expect instant gratification, and that's why she was putting that cup there. And
That's right.
She's, you know what? That's her go-to excuse, Bill. She says, you made me this way. She says it to me all the time.
I was a strong, independent black woman before I met you.
Well, Bill, what did you want to opine about? I'm sorry, sir.
well, in Wethersfield, they started planting trees between the street and the sidewalks, and so I was talking to the employee that was in charge of the program, and the residents have given them permission to plant them there, and I said, well, when they grow big, there are going to be problems on the ruining the sidewalks and possibly the streets, and you got leaves, and I said you planted some of them that go up into the cable lines,
Yeah,
that go
the power
into the
lines,
house,
yeah.
and eventually they're going to be. He goes, well, that's what there are trees, and then we'll go out and have to take and trim them up and trim back from the lines and fix the sidewalks. I said, well, you build a sidewalk repair to the homeowner. I said, so you're planning job security for your department. and
That's right. That's exactly right. Creating a problem they'll have to deal with in perpetuity.
Right. And so that's all I had.
Sounds like government to me, sir.
Sounds like parenting.
Have a good weekend.
You got
too.
it, man. You got it. Hey, never underestimate the unmitigated gall of government to invade your life and your way of life. Adam is in East Hartford. How are you, Adam?
Hey, have the audience pray for me. I have vestibular migraines, and everything just keeps getting brighter. And I see the headache center of South Windsor in the middle of May, and
Well, you're still going through that eyesight problem, Adam, aren't you? Are they forcing you to wear those Terminator glasses when you walk around now?
Well, I'm wearing them, but I also have I had 2 molars pulled on Wednesday. And
Holy
I have a lower
moly!
Tooth. Yeah, the crown fell off the lower tooth. I'm in a lot of pain in my lower mouth. I may have to go to the Yukon Dental Center if I can't wait until Monday when I see the oral surgeon again.
Adam, why did you pick 1 week to do all of this damage to your body? It's like, yeah, I want you to screw up my eyesight and pull teeth. Were you having too great of a month?
I know, it's awful. But, hey, but what I thought about was, anyway, we'd like to opine or have a comment. The swingers, and you heard enough about that by now in Plymouth. My thing is, it's not the worst sin or the worst crime. Like, you've had teachers abuse the kids, as you guys have talked about.
Yeah.
Why have it next to the church? They should have thought about that one, yeah?
Well, that was, you know what, again, what was it that I think it was? I can't remember who it was who called it. I feel like it was Craig who called it and said it was a perfect location because, after you go sinning, you can go right to the church after the fact and confess your sins. So I thought that was interesting that they picked that place. It's in the right spot.
Exactly. Also, Tonks never went off on Trump like that. It's one thing to disagree with somebody's financial policy, but to compare somebody's financial policies to 9/11, that's stupid, isn't it?
I didn't hear that, but you know what? I'll have to go back. I'll ask him about that. Thank you, Adam. Let me get to some others here. I got a bunch of them. Let's go to Jeff is in Marlboro. I got to get to him. How you doing, Jeff? Jeff? Nope, not there. Fine. We'll go to the aforementioned Craig in the car. Craig, was it you that said that the swingers club next to the church was a good idea? Was that you?
Yeah, and then you can go to the clinic and get your shot.
That's right. I do remember that. And you said it was all perfectly coordinated to say if you get an STD, you go to the clinic, and then to confess your sins and ask for, do your Hail Marys right across the street.
Confession.
Right.
But you need the CVS for the morning after pill.
That's right. Go to CVS for the morning after pill.
Reese, every time I give you credit for being the smartest guy I know, you do something like you did today. If your wife is military retired And she makes a comment like, yes, I did put a coffee cup in his periphery. Now, you're not going to offend her. She's pissed off.
Right. I know. Listen, it wasn't that. It's here.
And you
listen,
are going to pay.
We had an understand. Listen, there's a thing, and I'm going to explain this to you. Here's what the problem is. So I have this little bug up my rear about the fact that I think that Rozan doesn't respect when I'm doing something. What she needs supersedes that. And I don't think that she's very considerate. That's my problem, not hers, that she's very considerate of the thing that I'm engaged in at the moment. She treats my phone like it is a mistress, exactly, like an obstacle. Not like what I'm doing on it is serious. She treats it like he's with his toy so I can interrupt him. And I take offense to that, look, I may be doing something important. I may be engaging in a conversation that is valuable to me or to my work. And I feel like she's dismissive of that. And that's where my back got up behind it. That's all it was. That's all it was.
It is a mistress. Let's be honest. It is a mistress.
No, I'm not going to admit that.
It's like when I'm sitting. It's like when I'm sitting next to my wife on the couch, and Fox News is on, and I want to show her the cabinet meeting that Trump had and how interesting that was, and she's on her phone watching HGTV.
Yes,
I get just as offended over that. It's the same stuff. I have to say something about the teacher. Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
I went to 3 different Catholic schools.
Okay.
Never had anybody touch the arm and touch the shoulder, and I'm like, dude, stop doing that. No, she's fine with it. She's fine with it. I said, yeah, until she's not, or until her husband sees it and he's not good with it. And you find yourself waking up 10 minutes after the interview, not knowing what the hell just happened because you got choked out.
Right.
You just don't put your hands on people, period. Especially if you're a teacher.
Yeah.
Holy God.
Yeah, I mean, look, I actually got this very, very important text, from a parent that says that, usually this tickling thing is a gateway to see whether or not the child is okay with being touched. And it, in essence, ends up being sort of like that permission, that escalation tactic. Find out if the kid's got an issue with it. If they don't, keep, egging them on. It's sort of the grooming thing.
My grandfather was a master sergeant in the Army in World War II, and he ended up being superintendent of schools in one of the towns in Connecticut. The only time he touched me is when he whooped my ass.
That's what Catholic school used to be like. I remember those days, and I never went to them, but I heard plenty of stories. Always good to hear from you, my friend. Always good to hear from you. Don't forget, if you want to be the last but not least caller of the day, you can just call up 860-522-WTIC right now, 860-522. I think it has to do with my computer being old. What do you think? We get another $700 computer for yours truly so that we can...
Okay, but I get a $700 purse.
Yeah. Wow. I guess we're sticking with this one. I guess we're sticking with this computer. Anyway, we'll figure it out. Last but not least, caller, again, 860-522-WTIC, 860-522-9842. Let's go to...
Having trouble with his eyesight. Was that his IT?
I'm sorry, was that who? Hold on. That got kicked off. Sorry. I'm sorry, was that what?
The guy who called up about having his teeth taken out and having trouble with his eyesight?
Yes, sir.
His eye teeth that he was having trouble with?
His IT was he having trouble with? I didn't hear that.
Eye teeth.
Oh, no, I don't know. I think he had all of these procedures done in 1 week because isn't that what did they do at the end of the year? where you have to get all the. Is it HSA? You have to do all of your health thing over at one time before you actually have to change. Is that what that is?
I don't know. I have military health care still, so.
So I'm thinking that's. Go ahead. I'm sorry. What was the other thing you wanted to jump in about?
I got two more things, and there was a joke in there someplace. I guess
it's okay. I missed it.
Didn't go wrong. Now, as far as migraines go, people may want to look into magnesium. There's different types. I think it might be citrate, but I can't remember for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But that's supposed to definitely help. I got a coffee story. I'm a big coffee drinker, and I need it in the morning, and definitely addicted to caffeine. But restaurants where they used to know me well, sometimes they'd be busy. I'm looking for a refill.
Mm-hmm.
This is back when we had payphones. I'd go to the payphone sometimes and give them a call and ask for my waitress. They'd pick up the phone and say, "Who's this?" "Well, it's Steve at the counter. Can you please bring me another cup of coffee?"
I could do that. I could just start calling
That's
you.
cold. That's just cold. All right,
well,
I
enjoyed it. That was all good fun.
Unfortunately, Steve, I got to get to some last but not least, but I appreciate you, buddy. I promise I'll let you get in another time. Yeah, this is the only one, the last one I can get into. You know what? Hold on. We'll hold on to Orlando real quick. Okay, I just want to say this to you real quick, Rozan. Just give me this and your point of view. Michelle Obama's complaining an awful lot about her life now post presidency, post First Lady of the United States. Let me just ask you this. If I were, being the wife of a radio talk show host, is it commonplace for a woman to feel like she has been inundated with the success of her husband to the point where it gets annoying?
I don't know.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. We live.
You might have to go to the mic a little bit more.
We live in Texas,
right?
And your show broadcasts in Connecticut, and there are people listening everywhere, here and there. But I don't know. I think I'm married to you, and the version of you that I get isn't exactly the same guy that's on the radio.
Right, because there's a degree of entertainment here in the person that I am and what I'm doing.
Right, but also having to understand and appreciate, and I've told you this before, having been a military spouse, being a military child, being in the military myself, I understand my role a lot of times is just to be support.
Do you think she's on a whiny tour? Like she's sort of like saying like, "Oh,
she's
being
got
the
an
first
empty
lady."
nest. Her husband is, I don't know what that whole deal is. Like she's on this podcast with her brother, who wasn't he the guy that was in the Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt? Because that's really who he looks like. Okay. Anyway,
Unfortunately, I should have jumped this in, but I had to get into the phone calls. Let me actually just take this real quick. Orlando's in Middlebury. How are you, sir?
Good. How are you, sir?
Well, you are our last but not least caller of the day, so you get a dozen bagels a month for 6 months, courtesy of Between Rounds. We'll get your information. I'll let you opine. You got 20 seconds if you can.
I just want to say you're a breath of fresh air. Thank you for being on the radio. You bring up some great topics, and when it comes to our children, there's no room for anybody to hurt any child, regardless who they are and whether they're related to you or not. Our children are the most precious things we have, and I appreciate what you do. Thank you.
You got it, sir. Orlando, our last but not least caller of the day. As I always say, radio is free, so we thank you for paying attention. Remember to keep JC in your hearts and in your mind. Sean Patrick, we love you and we miss you. Remember that panic is not planning, so plan your work and work your plan. Me, I'm Reese on the radio. She is Mrs. on the radio, Rozan, and we will talk to you guys on Monday. Have a great weekend, and don't forget the Sunday show. Mark Christopher, he's in the BPS Traffic Center. Good night, Mark.
Hey, good night, Reese. Good night, everyone. Have a great weekend.
All right, you're clear. Have a good weekend, Reese.
Thank you, man. You too.
From
Thanks.
3 down to 32 A and B. On the northbound side of 91, easy ride Cromwell through downtown up into Windsor. Westbound 84 tied up 56 Governor Street.
I would love to know what the heck that shortage was. It was literally, it kicked out all of my stuff on the screen.
Is it the new computer, maybe?
What?
It's the only new element is the new computer.
No, neither one of them are attached, which is weird. Anyway, thank you, Michael A. As always, I think you must have that printed somewhere.
Thank you,
just put
Michael.
up. I appreciate all of you guys. I hope you guys have eye teeth.
Was it an eye teeth problem?
Oh, eye teeth problem. Okay, I'm sorry, I missed the joke. I'm sorry.
You're so cute.
I'm just horrible at that. Yes, you guys have a wonderful weekend. Donald, Bob, and ATS. I hope you'll come back next week. Don't forget, Negro Nonsense is on Thursday. I know how much you guys are a fan of that. So make sure you join us. I
Reese
don't want
is
you to miss it.
definitely not boring off the radio, John Beckman, at all.
What did you say?
No.
I'm what?
He said, so basically Reese is boring off the radio. Not even a little bit.
Boring.
No. Just a different version. I get the real Reese. You get Reese on the radio. I get Reese in real life. So
I don't think that there's a daylight between the two. Do you?
You're more animated and robust.
Yes,
You
I will
have
say that. I will say. But here it's performance to some degree, but the value and the point of view are the same. I mean, those are real.
Right. No, that's real.
There is performance. I will agree with that.
You're very animated.
Yes.
When you're on the radio and yeah.
Yeah. Boris says we have to share why Uncle Ben joke the Uncle Ben joke I made up. Okay, well, definitely share that with me, Boris. Yeah, I think that that's the whole deal. I mean, yes, I understand the performative nature of what I do on the air because there's got to be timing. There's got to be a particular way in which I deliver it. So
You're loud.
Yeah, and loud. That's true. Oh, that's the one thing that she complains about the most. Tell him. Go ahead,
You're
sweetheart.
so big. Like you are a giant man. You're a giant man. And your voice is giant. And my eardrums are very little.
I speak radio everywhere. And I think...
No, he speaks megaphone everywhere. He talks like he is at the Capitol addressing the last guy at the other end of what is that water? Why am I drawing a blank? You know, a Forrest Gump.
Oh, the reflecting pool.
There you go.
Yeah.
Like you are like screaming to the guy at the other end of the reflecting
And
pool.
it is natural. I don't know why. She says this one thing. I have to bear this. Rozan will do this thing that I don't know why, but I take offense to it. Like my ego is bruised. But I'll be talking to her and like she'll mention something that I'm excited about. And I'll be like, oh yeah. And then she'll be like, oh, damn, please just bring it down. And she's like, please don't yell. And I'm like, okay. And I have to be ready. And that it shames me a little bit that I have to tone it down. And so I immediately get offended and I make it about that. It's just like, stop telling me to tone it down. And I don't know how to take it. I don't because
okay,
this is...
imagine this, right?
Yes.
You have a basket full of kittens leisurely laying down, just enjoying their little life, and a big, what is the biggest dog, a Bernese Mountain Dog, comes running in, one massive bark.
Rolf.
And you see all the cats freak out.
Freaking meow.
That's exactly what's happening here.
Yeah, I know. I know I have to work on it. Sometimes, like I said, I'm shamed when she does it. I always feel bad about it, and at the same time, I feel offended because I'm like, I'm not loud, but I know I am. I know I am.
That would be like me saying I'm not spoiled.
Yeah. She may also have great hearing. That's a good point, Boris. That's a good point.
I do have sensitive little ears. Cute, sensitive little ears.
All right. Okay. Well, I got to get up out of here. I have to go
shopping.
Yeah. Oh, the dreaded S word. Yes, get off my lawn. I'm that guy. But it's funny, that it's funny that my normal talk, my voice goes all the way up when I'm having conversation. But when I need to intimidate a guy, I'll go all the way here.
Because it's more scary. Listen, I used to do that to my kids. Screaming and screaming, stop it, knock it off. If you guys don't quit, I'm going to blah, blah, blah. Nothing worked. Finally, I would just go, come here. Come here. When we get home, I'm going to you up.
Honey!
I'm going to make sure that you're very unhappy because you're not listening. Are you scared? You scared, honey? It's okay. It's fine.
It says it's streaming, but you can't hear anything. Now it's back.
Yeah.
It just
I used to scare the crap out of the kids with that. I mean, just to see their little faces go from just defiant, excited anger to just like these giant bug eyes bulging out of their head and their shoulders. Like it was the most beautiful thing. And I didn't have another problem out of them. But here's the tricky part. As soon as I was done with them, that was it. I was done. I always made threats. I used to threaten them with things like, I'll rip your arms off and beat you with them. or I'll pick your sister up and beat you with your sister. You know, like the most ridiculous stuff.
Had to be over the top.
It had to, but they behaved, and that was the end of it. So
I may have too many things open. That's probably why it's doing this crazy stuff.
It's me.
Yeah, the camera, of course, the camera loves you. Yeah, I don't know what this is. I'm gonna have to refresh it and find out what the deal is. So it's weird because it got me in all these weird positions on the screen. Let me see if that's the last bit. Okay, all right, that's it. All right, we'll get up out of here. I love you guys. Y'all be good to each other.